When you think of Dubai, what do you think of? Like, really? We all know it has stunning architecture, fancy hotels, insane shopping malls, crazy skyscrapers, Ferraris on the streets. Heck, it's even been said that Dubai is a paradise for tourists from around the world. But is it really?
Let's dive into Dubai and give our honest review. There's a certain type of traveller that I would recommend it to and a certain type of traveller that I would not. So stay tuned to see whether you are someone I would recommend Dubai to.
Without further ado, let's get into the first hot topic, the culture and the gender divide.
So for our personal experience, maybe I noticed this a bit more because obviously I am a female, but I felt like on public transport, like catching the train, there is a huge divide between men and women. We were told, that like women are kind of put up here and like, they obviously respect women so much, but there's like a women's only carriage and then another carriage which is men. And because there was only men on that side, like it felt so divided. And as a traveller, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what stop you're getting off at. Like Nick and I are literally divided by about like 20-30 meters. And we're trying to like look at each other to try and communicate. It definitely was different to what we're used to. I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel pretty uneasy. When we first walked onto the train, we did have a local woman saying to Nick, like, this is a ladies only train, like
please get off.
You need to go. There were signs saying that men will get a fine for being in
the women's carriage.
The women's only carriage. Did notice as well the bathrooms are the same, like in a giant, really modern shopping centre. Men's bathroom is at one end of the shopping centre and females is at another. And I don't know if that's on purpose or if there's just nothing to that, but that's the first time I've
noticed that. Yeah.
So another really interesting thing that we saw at an airport in Dubai was we were essentially sitting in a cafe kind of area. It's
like a little co-work sort of space in the airport where there was charging stations and chairs and tables for people to charge stuff and work on their laptops.
We saw a young man walk over to a free table and sit down, and about 10 seconds later, a local woman walked straight up to him and said, I want this table. Like, go, you need to go. And he was a tourist like ourselves, and he was like, what? Like, he was really confused.
I would have been confused as
well.
I would have been like,
so would I, because we do just come from a country where it's just first in, best dressed.
Yeah.
Essentially, she just was like, go, like, I'm a woman, like, I want this table.
Yeah.
And he was just like, okay. So he like grabbed his food and his laptop and like shuffled off, and he just was like,
we're just watching,
where do I sit? And I couldn't believe it. I was like, talk about like exercising your right to like empower. Yeah, like I'm a woman, I deserve this.
But like what?
Very interesting.
I'm very curious to see what would happen if he refused.
Yeah,
and was I don't know. No, I was here first. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, next up is the culture. As I'm sure most of you are aware of, Dubai is well known for its money hustle culture. It's very apparent that many wealthy individuals operate from Dubai, possibly for status, title, or, to avoid tax thresholds, whatever. We can't really be sure as to why, but it definitely looks like the city of the rich.
Yeah, the city is all about showing off the money. From the fancy shopping spots to the high-end dining, Dubai is all about luxury. But was it actually worth the price? I guess this depends on what your local currency is and obviously where you're from. And it also depends on what type of travel that you like to do. We're Australians, and so the currency exchange was roughly like $1 Australian to like 2.4 United Arab Emirates. And we noticed, honestly, that everything coming from an expensive country like Australia, everything was expensive. So expensive.
Yeah. So a couple of things that we noticed that were very expensive were taxi rides. They typically range from 30 to 100 Australian. Obviously this is dependent on distance, but we did find this to be much cheaper than if we were to ride in Australia, but it was still quite expensive. We did use the app Careem instead of finding a local taxi because it turned out to be way cheaper and way less hassle in negotiating prices and stuff like that.
Careem is essentially the same as Uber. They do have Uber and Careem. So one of the Careem drivers actually explained to us that the Careem app will actually find the longest way to get you to your destination so that you have to pay more, obviously, as a guest in the car.
As a rider.
And that if he had have taken a shorter route and gone off the Careem map that it chose for him, that he would actually get fined. He would have to pay the remainder of the fare that we didn't pay because he gave us a better service. So for that, I would recommend Uber. If you can get Uber, stick with Uber. Careem is always cheaper. I think that we were like, oh, Careem's like $5 cheaper, we'll just get a Careem. But now after knowing that, I would have stuck with Uber through and through.
Food was hella expensive, more so than Australian meals, especially for like a typical sized meal. We went out for breakfast and an Eggs Benedict breakfast was about 40 Australian dollars, whereas if you got that in Australia, you're looking at about 25 Australian dollars.
I will add on that note, food, we didn't have anything that was like super incredible, amazing. It was just like...
Pretty average.
So we had to buy sunscreen.
From Atlantis.
This sunscreen, it's pretty amazing, right? How much would you expect to pay for this? 80 Australian dollars. This was the cheapest one we could buy as well. So when you go to Atlantis, take your own sunscreen before you go. Also at a shopping centre, we forgot our travel adapter. We left it here in Bali by accident and we went to go buy another one and we were told it was going to be 200 Australian dollars for a travel adapter. Okay, next up is attractions. So attractions can be very expensive and it totally depends on what you're doing and where. We visited Universe, which was like an indoor immersive experience, which consisted of like light shows, illusions, and these weird trippy effects. And it was honestly so awesome.
Sick, yeah.
It was $50 AUD and you could spend as long as you wanted here. Highly recommend. If you're going to be in Dubai, definitely go and do it. The only thing is that they won't let you take in proper cameras.
Yeah.
So you can take your iPhone. If you have a proper camera, leave it at home, because they will make you leave it with them at the front desk. It was a very like magical, like mystical kind of vibe. Like felt like you're an avatar or in like another galaxy or something.
And it's in the middle of a shopping centre as well.
Yes.
So you can grab a feed before or after, up to you.
And we did see a lot of other families there with young kids. So it would be great for if you have a family and you want something easy for the kids to do.
Next up, day 2, we went to Atlantis Water Park.
Yeah.
This is the world's largest water park. It was actually insane. You get like a little buggy and it takes you around the whole water park to like each individual zone. In each individual zone, there's like 10 to 15 separate rides. It was crazy. It was so big.
Yeah.
And they give you these like non-slip water shoes. It was so funny. Anyway, it was roughly 150 to 180 Australian each for regular entry, which is not like priority in the lines to get on the rides. Some of the lineups were quite long. Some rides were long, not all of them. Anyways, after that, we went and got some lunch. When we saw the prices on the menu, our jaws hit the floor. We ended up ordering pretty much half of what we were going to get due to the prices.
Yeah.
We ended up getting a regular pizza, like a standard pizza, decent size. It was about 40 Australian dollars. In Australia, you wouldn't pay more than $20 for that. 25 max.
And it wasn't anything amazing.
Yeah, it was just a stock standard pizza.
Yeah, but there were other options as well. To get like a chicken palmy was just $65 Australian. Like
that was ridiculous.
Yeah, and like a burger was $40 Australian. So we picked a pizza because we were like, okay, it'll probably be the most bang for our buck.
Not that much bang for our buck. However, we would still recommend going to Atlantis Water Park because it was just so fun. And when in Dubai, you got to go to the world's largest water park. Yeah. On top of that, we also visited the aquarium, which is not inside Atlantis, the water park. It's pretty much next to it. Cost a little bit extra. I think it was maybe like 40, 50 roughly Australian dollars each. But that was sick. You can do some diving experiences there too. I would have. However, we're flying like a day or two after and you can't fly once you've had like the oxygen and stuff. So I'm jealous if any of you guys have done it.
I will say, someone who's scared of fish, it was honestly amazing. Like it was the most gorgeous in-theme aquarium I've ever been to in my life.
Once you walk out into the main area, there's a massive aquarium with, what do they say, over like
65,000 marine animals.
Yeah, which is a lot.
A lot.
Alright, next up, attractions. So, we already went to Atlantis, we went to Universe, but there was so much more that we didn't actually get to see, but which we could have. There was an indoor skiing center, obviously desert tours, forward driving, camel treks, like sunsets out in the desert. There was also some pretty crazy infinity pools with insane city views. We did look them up before we went to Dubai, but they're quite pricey. They typically range from 150 to 300 Australian dollars just to go into the hotel, go up to the top to the pool, have a swim, and then go.
Get your photo.
Yeah, pretty much. We also checked out the gold souks and the spice souks. Basically, souks is just little markets. There's like an area in Dubai where it's just like multiple streets of these markets. There was spices, there was gold and jewelry, there was like shops and stuff.
So with the spice souk, right behind it is the gold souk. So there's the spice souk, there's the textiles, and like kind of souvenirs, and then there's the gold souk. Anyways, the gold souk is amazing. Like every store, just gold on gold on gold, just like more gold than I've ever seen in my life, and that was amazing.
Like jewelry gold.
Yeah.
Not like slabs of gold, like jewelry.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really amazing to walk through that. Okay, next up is the people. I think the people will define the place as to whether it's worth going back to or not. People were a little bit different to what we were used to. Everyone seemed super serious. They seemed like they were always on a mission. They had some kind of tunnel vision, like somewhere to be. And I had like a task at hand. And if I'm going to be honest, weren't very helpful.
Wasn't really a vibe.
It felt quite unwelcoming at times, and there was hardly any smiles, to the point where it did feel a bit alienating. Funnily enough, the taxi Uber drivers were actually the most pleasant and welcoming. A lot of them were like, oh, we love tourists here.
Yeah.
But if you walk down the street or like through a shopping centre, you probably just get stared down. At the train station, we were trying to use Google Translate to say, like, we do not speak your language. We're trying to get to Atlantis Water Park. Can you please tell us like what train station we have to get off at?
Yeah.
They wouldn't even read it.
They were just like, that way.
That.
And we were just like,
what? Like this one? And she just, instead of like going like, yes, like it just was like, they just keep yelling the same thing that they've been yelling at the same speed that they're yelling it at. And you're like, when usually someone doesn't understand something, you like slow it down, like maybe look at the Google Translate. Yeah, and I just found that it was just so hard to find anyone who would help.
So, yeah, unhelpful. It was just like,
yeah.
What?
You're either being stared at or you're invisible.
Dubai. All right, next up is the challenge of getting around. Navigating Dubai can be a bit of an adventure in itself. It's fucking huge. It's massive. So finding cafes or restaurants on the main roads was pretty much near impossible. There wasn't really anything on the main road strips apart from like businesses. It was quite work orientated. There were some cafes and restaurants in the shopping malls, but that was pretty much the gist of it. Unless they were hidden and we missed them.
Be hard to miss.
And, you know, walking isn't always an option. So if you wanted to get around anywhere, you pretty much needed to get a taxi, an Uber, or a Careem.
Even when we were trying to search for restaurants around that area, it had like a drop pin saying this is where the restaurant is, and we walked to that exact location and there was nothing there. There was nothing to be found. And so we were like, okay, like to the next one. Felt like you had to get in a car and drive a 20-minute drive to get to the cafe district. Yeah, it was very hard to find cafes.
So that pretty much brings us full circle back to the main question, which is, would we recommend Dubai? Honestly, me personally, I would say not really. It was cool to be able to see it and say, you know, yeah, I've been to Dubai, tick it off the list, check, done. But for what it offered and what we actually got in return, I wouldn't say it was really worth it. It was way too expensive for my liking and just really not the vibe I'd be looking for, whether that's a holiday or somewhere to live.
Yeah.
So it's a no from me.
So for me, I think that seeing the billboards everywhere that were like, it's the #1 destination in the world. I'm like, is it? Like, is it really? I feel like Dubai has a lot of flashy attractions, but I don't feel like it actually has any culture other than just big, expensive
Than money,
things.
really.
Yeah. I would recommend it to people who have plenty of money to spend and are happy just to go there for like 3 or 4 days. If you wanted to go there and just do lots of fun attractions like Atlantis, Aya Universe, go to the indoor snow park, like
cool.
that kind of stuff, I think that could be a lot of fun. But if you go there thinking, oh, like this is going to be a decent price, you're going to get a very rude shock. If you're a traveller like us who is doing it the cheap way, you're booking cheap accommodation, you want to spend as little but see as much as possible, then do not go to Dubai.
And if you're looking for like to experience culture more than attractions, don't go.
Don't go to Dubai. And there you have it, guys. That is our full review of our 3 days in Dubai. This is just our personal experience, so we'd obviously love to hear other people's experience in the comments below. If you liked the video and you found it informative or helpful or entertaining in any way, please give us a little thumbs up and click subscribe onto our channel. We do upload twice a week and we obviously appreciate that help so much.
Yes. And stick around, guys, because next week we have our Egypt reviews coming.
Yes.
So subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.